Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today we have the second half of our 2017 White Christmas Kit. So we'll be taking a look at cards or sets number 6 through 10. Okay, this is the second half of the White Christmas Kit. In addition to this, I'm not going to go through all the materials I went through in number 1. We'll just talk about the new things. I created a shaker card, so we're going to use some foam tape. Many of you have this embossing folder already. This is the A4 Knotted Holly by Creative Expressions. I believe I mentioned this last time, but we actually used the snowfall frames and the snow dies from Hunkydory in that new moonstone line. We got some fun new card frames in. These come from Find It Trading, and I love them because not unlike the easel card that many of you got, these are dies that you can use to cut your adorable squirrel into shaped cards. And what I love about these is that they're good sizes. This one's like 5.5 by 5.5. And this one's a European A4, which makes it just a little over 4 by 6. And what I love is that they just cut through the adorable squirrel cardstock like butter, so you can turn any color of adorable squirrel into a background card with a nice fancy shape on it. And they're very affordable, $14.95 a piece. So for something you can use over and over and over and over again. Excuse me, I think I mentioned this last time, but we used lots and lots of snowfall acetate in these cards. Here's another die that we've used before that many of you have. This is the little cedar sprigs and pine cones that we used in the quick and easy cards and the die cuts with, let's see, the Lost and Found card set that we did the video on. Lots of you bought this, but this has been used generously in this set. If you didn't get it, I recommend it. It's very affordable, and they're just wonderful. You'll see how we've used them. We don't sell these in the store, but just about everybody has some seed beads in their stash, and I use these little seed beads in my shaker card. We use thin line dazzles, and we use silver jewel dazzles in our cards. I've mentioned these a time or two, but I use these fairly extensively, so I thought I'd show you this pack. This is the A6, European A6, which roughly is 4 by 6 inches. These are the ones by Anita's, and these are pearlescent cards, and I don't think you can see it through the packaging here, so I guess it's kind of a trust me. These have like 4 colors of cards in the pack. They're all very subtle backgrounds though, and these are wonderful, and they're in a 50 pack and they're super affordable, so I've used those fairly extensively. I did one card using the Little Book of Christmas, which is the little book that matches the Craftaganza kit. Some of the other kits have lots and lots of images, but there's only one snowy image from this, so I was teasing Brittany. I made all of my cards from the third Little Book of Christmas, and she still has like 6 or 7 to go because there's tons of images from the Christmas Cuddles kit she's working on. So we'll look forward to seeing what Brittany comes up with. I used some Tim Holtz Distress Inks, and these were wonderful. I'll show you what I did with them. We did some fun projects with inks. That's an unusual supply for me to bring into a video, but we had great fun with these. I used my fancy bow maker. I wanted to mention to you that we've been a little shy on bow makers in the shop for a while, but I've been working with Tattered Lace, and the day they arrive in their offices, I guarantee that our wholesale representative from Tattered Lace is going to call me because I've driven him crazy about getting us some more bow makers. They're completely sold out as a company and waiting for their shipments to arrive, but as soon as they get them, we get them. Lots of you probably have this paper, and I've used this in a few cards. This is the backgrounds paper, musical notes. It's wonderful. And I love this for Christmas cards. Several of you have this already. We use this extensively in the Flight of the Butterflies collection. If you have that, dig that out because that's wonderful with this, with some of these cards. We did something really fun with these 12 Days of Christmas inserts. They're a large 8x8 insert that's created by Paper Mania Do Crafts. We did something really, really fun with these. If you like the card when you see it, buy them right away. I only have 11 packs in stock and it's a discontinued item. But I've had 11 packs for a while and I thought I needed to demonstrate them so you could see what to do with them. But if you like it, buy it immediately because they won't last after this video. I used a little bit of the Snowfall Mary limited edition. We've had this for a while, and it's kind of a go-to for Christmas cards. I pull out a sheet here and a sheet there. I have a pack that I've been working on for the longest time, and you just run into some cards it's just perfect for. So it's kind of one of my staples in my card making supplies. That's it for the supplies. Let's move on to the cards. This first card I'm going to show you is actually a page out of the third little book of Christmas. This was my one topper set that matched the white Christmas set out of that collection. And I love the way this card came out. This frame is the Moonstone frame from that Snowy frame set from Hunkydory. Those frames are made to match the size of the little book pages, so they fit right inside nicely here. I took a piece of my background card that I had from one of my other sets in this collection, and I glued a piece of Snowfall acetate inside the frame. Then I put both of those down on my little book page, glued it to the card. I added this little Warm Wishes from my 2017 Sentiments collection. Here's those little sprigs I talked about. You're going to see them all over these cards. So look what it adds, just putting those little sprigs coming out from under the greeting. It's just an extra little touch. And you'll remember this snowflake right here? This is made from the remnants of that snowflake die that we featured and talked a lot about in the last video. I think I might have another card here, I'm not sure, but oops, I forgot to line the inside of that one. But this is all done on an A5 card. An A5 can actually be made by taking a regular piece of adorable scoreable and scoring that in the middle, and you'll get this size card, which is 8 1/4 by whatever, 11.75. So what is that? 5 point something, 5 inches wide and 8 1/4 inches long. So that's the size I use for that, and that's really almost perfect for that big die in the little book page. So, Little Book of Christmas. First set we're going to talk about here is Let It Snow. This is another fun snowman set. There's actually 3 snowman sets in the White Christmas. So we talked about one of them with our last video, and we have 2 tonight. We've got these wonderful big oval frames. We've got some circles, these little guys. We've got several greetings here. Wishing you a very Merry Christmas, have a magical Christmas, season's greetings, and winter wishes, let it snow. So lots of greetings on this sheet. Got a wonderful border treatment on this one with this great snowy pattern on the other side. And I love this sheet. This one made a wonderful background for cards. All of this business over here was wonderful, as well as the 2 kids playing, which made a great card. Let's take a look what we did with it. First card I'm going to show you out of this set was a card that I made using a piece of adorable scoreable. I actually used the lavender, and I made myself a card that was 5 by 5 on the face, 1/4 of an inch deep, and 5 by 5 on the back. So 10 1/4 inches long by 5 inches wide. I scored it so that I had a 5-inch, a 1/4 inch, and a 5-inch panel. I cut my piece out of my aperture out of the front of the card using one of my circle dies from my tattered lace set. One of our customers asked me this week if we had other sets available, and we do have several sets of circle dies in various price points. And I have tried some of them, and they cut the adorable scoreable also, so just something good to know there. But I put my topper on my card, and then I cut the whole thing with my circle die. I put my frame on the outside, and I put my my snowfall acetate under my frame so that I had the nice snowfall. Then, working on the inside, I created a layer of foam tape around. I put in a second sheet of snowfall acetate with the little circle die. I don't know if you can see it here. I'll try and hold this at an angle. Inside here, I have the center section of my circle die holding down the second sheet of snowfall acetate. I did that because I wanted to have a couple of layers of snowfall acetate over the kids in their snow fight. And then I took another piece of cardstock, a solid piece of cardstock. I added my topper to that, and before I attached this inside on my foam tape, I added some little seed beads so we get a nice shaker effect in that card. I'm not sure how much you can see my little seed beads on the video, but you get some nice action inside that card with the little seed beads. And finally, I just used one of the snowflakes off of the snowflake frame set and put a rhinestone in the center. But didn't that turn out cute? And while it sounds involved, and it was a little bit involved, it wasn't terrible, and it was a lot of fun to make. So made a little shaker card for you there. Next up, here's that beautiful snowy frame again from Yvonne Creations, I believe. And here's that piece of snowfall mirror board. I know it's a little confusing because we have snowfall acetate and we have snowfall mirror board, but that's what this is called, the silver snowflakes on the mirror background. And in this case, I've just cut my silver frame. And then I cut myself a circle out of rainbow mirror, and I put that behind the frame. See that there? Look at the light play I'm getting in this area. That's coming from having put a piece of rainbow behind there. I took the piece I cut out of here when I cut this frame. I cut it down a little bit. I didn't want to waste that because I thought it was beautiful, so I cut it down some more. And from the piece I cut out of this facing piece, I made this charming little topper. So this was a scrap that I recycled. I glittered that up a little bit. And then I cut a second one of these frames out of white, and I placed the little white pieces into my silver. And I love the way that turned out. I added a little glitter on top of these, just little glitter lines. I glittered the centerpiece. Didn't that turn out pretty? Oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun to make. And so satisfying to reclaim this piece. And there's the matching insert. Isn't that beautiful? Next up, here's the kids that were on the corner. I took a US A6 card. That means that it's 5 by 6.5. And I covered it with silver mirror board. I cut this piece to be about 1/4 of an inch to, about 1/4 of an inch narrower. So I'm not going to try and do the math, it's late and you can do that, but cut it 1/4 of an inch narrower, both lengthwise and widthwise. And then I actually put my frame right over the top of that. I didn't try and cut it down to where my frame was equal to the size of my card. I liked the way it looked actually layering the frame right on top of my image. I glittered my little characters and my snow scene a bit. I hope you can see that in the camera because it's really, really pretty. Added my little topper up on some foam tape. Created an insert and used one of my tiny toppers as just an accent piece inside my card. And I love this. I think it's really a lot of fun. Next up, here is our oval snowman. I used this oval snowman on the background that was the same as the frame. I wanted to set it off just a little bit, so I put a piece of acetate over my background, and I hid my connections for my acetate behind this topper piece and here. And I put this one up on some foam tape. This actually had 3 layers, and I liked the background showing, so I actually took the center layer out of the 3-part topper set and just let the background show through. This little piece is on some foam tape. Added another one of those little stars to the corner. Surprising how you can really set off your images just by adding a little snowflake here or there. And again, I've glittered my topper so you can see that. I hope you can see that beautiful glitter work. Just a fine line pen, the Quickie glue pen, and some ultra fine glitter by Hunkydory, and it's just beautiful. Now I know that some of you have been asking about the Quickie glue pens. They're sold out temporarily, but I'm assured by our distributor that we'll have them soon. Every day they're changing the date. They're going to ship it up one day, so hopefully those will be arriving soon. But we'll get them back in. We love those. Walking in a winter wonderland on the inside. Again, another one of those little tiny toppers just to kind of personalize the inside and make it match the outside. Cute. Here's my side treatment. Using a DL card, which is a 4x8. And I didn't do much to this one. I cut it to match my card size. I attached it. I glittered up my snowman. Now I used lots of glitter on this snowman because he's kind of melty. I don't know how much you can see that, but he's kind of a melty snowman. The cat decided to get in the cupboard, so I apologize for the noise, but she had to move things out of her way to get in. I cut my Merry Christmas from Dee's Distinctively. That's in the supplies list, and we used that in our last video. A variety of little snowflakes from that Hunkydory snowflake frame set. And that's all I did to it, just because it's all it wanted. It was very, very pretty, just like that. Put a little matching insert on the inside. Done. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards from that set. Let's look at our next one. Okay, bringing home the Christmas tree, or their topper here says we're driving home for Christmas. But we also have a Merry Christmas, sending you warmest wishes this Christmas, a couple really nice border pieces, a couple little toppers. So we've got this one. They've got this Christmas lights surrounding snowflakes and more Christmas lights on the other side. We've got the car and the roadway. We did this roadway is what I used as the background for that first card that I showed you, because it just seemed to fit there, and it gave me the border I wanted on the top, so that's what where I used that. Okay, let's take a look at the cards we made. I could do that because for this one I didn't use any background cardstock. I used a 7x7 card. I ran a piece of my adorable Squirrel through my Tide Holly embossing folder, and I split this frame and turned it on the edge so that I have these nice edges coming out from under that. It's just kind of a nice look. It does take a large card to pull that off, but it does create a nice and different look to those layered frames when you do that. Tied a nice foofy bow. Added some of those joyous snowflake stickers we talked about in the last video. I was determined I was going to use that pack up before I finished this video, and did lots of nice glittering work on that topper. That's all I did. This is attached, of course, with my my best glue ever. And then I had some of my tied holly left, and I thought it was a nice effect to put that inside with my matching insert. Next, a really simple little card. They don't all have to be extra fancy. This was just simple, but I liked it. This is the corner off of this piece. I covered a little, I believe that's an A2 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card with a piece of silver mirror board. I cut my topper slightly smaller so I have an edge piece around it. I glittered my card up again. I hope you can still see the glitter through the glare of the acetate. And then I added my little topper on top of the acetate. Now I wanted to mention to you here, we talked about using the best glue ever to hide where you're attaching your acetate. And I told you that you could match up your little dots of the best glue ever with the acetate. I'll show you one of my cards here in a minute. I learned something really important when I was making these. You need to wait for those glue dots to dry before you attach your acetate, or they spread, and then you can see the adhesive. So I'll show you a card in a minute that I used that technique and I didn't wait. It's not a disaster, probably only I'll notice it, but I did notice it and it bugged me. This is using that same technique, but in this case I waited for my glue dots from the best glue ever to dry before I put my acetate on, and now it's just really firmly attached. It's not going anywhere. So just a little hint. Let those dots dry on your acetate before you attach it to your card, or they can spread. Cute little matching insert. I thought it was kind of fun that the card was going the other way. I'm easily entertained. Here's another card where I had this little topper left, I had this little piece of cardstock left, and I thought, why not? I just created my card base on a piece of snowfall acetate. I cut this to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 twice, makes that 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. I scored it. I used my Hunkydory scoreboard, truly. You can use any scoring device you have available to score it, get a nice deep crease. And then once you've created that crease, really score it down good. Get a nice crisp fold in that acetate. I used my acetate technique to attach my card face. Actually, here's an example of not waiting for it to dry. This was my card I wanted to show you. Look here. See, they spread a little bit. Now, chances are I'm the only one who will notice that, but it bugged me when they could have been so neat and clean and tidy. So just FYI, cut your insert to exactly match the size of your topper, because you don't want the insert showing behind your topper on the clear card. Really cute, I think, though. Center stip card, using that piece of foiled cardstock, just covered with the center, cut off one of the borders, and attached to the two sides. Use that little border strip here. Here's a couple of my little joyous snowflakes. Here's a sentiment out of my 2017 Christmas sentiments, and there's some more of that, those little sprigs coming out there. See what I mean about just that little touch of greenery really kind of sets off that topper, and I like that a lot. So very simple. I did put this topper up on some foam tape, And then I cut a little insert sheet. Now this one's a little bit more complicated to actually cut the insert to go all the way up. Often I'll just cut a small insert sheet and put in the center just to have a place to write and kind of a little bit more finished look inside. That one's done. Next up we have the Choral Christmas. We have outdoor choir outside a cathedral, Christmas tree, and kind of a nice city scene. Got a number of nice greetings on this one, a nice border piece down here. This one's pretty, I think. Look at the beautiful foiling on the corners of that. You get two beautiful cards out of that. In our case, I actually got one this time because of what I did with it, but I'll show you that. And here's another one of those gorgeous border treatments. You know what you're going to do with that, especially given the fact that this whole thing is covered with sea. It's an easy card. This is what I did. In this case, I wasn't real fond of this music background with that. Something just kind of didn't set right with me, and just cutting that off and having the music show there. So what I did was I cut this piece off right here. And then I put it on a piece of silver mirror board. I put my strip here. I put on a piece of acetate. I covered my acetate join with this piece of border strip I actually had left over from one of my other topper sets. And I love the way this card turned out. It's simple, it's easy, it's very effective, it's classy. Little 'tis the season greeting right off the topper sheet. Done. Cute. And celebrate the gift of Christmas. Here's one of my little, I haven't mentioned this for a while, so let me mention it again. On a lot of your topper sheets, you have these foil strips that are on the throwaway piece, and some of those long, pretty foil strips can be used to just really create a nice impression. So I clip those and I keep them until I'm done with my card set, and I use some of those throwaway pieces, and here's an example of using that nice foiling on the inside to just offset my insert. Okay, I gotta show you this one. I'm pretty excited about this one. I made this huge card. Now Corey, who works in our offices, and many of you have talked to Corey on the phone, or she writes notes back and forth on your invoices. Corey ships our orders. Corey kept bugging me saying, you have not done an 8x8 card. And that's just doing a disservice. Lots of our customers buy 8x8 cards, and you need to show them how to use those. So I said, yes, Corey, I'll find a way to use an 8x8 card. And I also had, as I mentioned in the beginning, some inserts from Paper Mania Do Crafts that also needed to be demonstrated. So I created this to show you what we had available and how you could use it. These are already pre-scored, they're already pre-cut, and you simply add them to the center of your card. Let me go through and I'll explain to you how I did this. First of all, on the outside, I've covered my 8x8 card with a piece of silver Mary board. Then I cut this piece to 7.5 by 7.5, and I put that on top. Then I put all three of these, I put these toppers on my background sheet, and I just didn't like it. They just kind of disappeared into the background. So I took a piece of Adorable Scoreable, and I mounted these three toppers evenly spaced on a piece of Adorable Scoreable in dark purple to just really make them pop off the sheet. And I added this little border down below here. I love the way that came out. I cut Merry Christmas using my D's Distinctively Merry Christmas die. Here's another one of those snowflakes off of the Hunkydory Moonstone snowflake frame set. Here's another one of those. These are little silver jewel dazzles. Don't be afraid to use those little holographic silver jewel dazzles. They give the impression of rhinestones without the bulk or the weight of rhinestones, and they really add a beautiful sparkle. So that's how we did the outside. On the inside, this topper is big and everything was white. So what I did on the inside of my card is I took one of my ink pads from Tim Holtz, and I just rubbed it on a piece of cardstock, just a nice circular motion. And look at the nice even tone you get there. If you're not getting it as even as you want, just take a sponge or a paper towel, wipe a little bit off, and look at the beautiful tone you get there just by rubbing that on a piece of cardstock. And that's how I created this background for behind the cutout, was just rubbing an ink pad on the inside of my card. Then I wanted a little bit more color to the inside, so I actually used two of my insert sheets, and I cut the church for this side, and I used the other insert sheet and put this nice flourish pattern on this side. But didn't that turn out beautiful? Now this is a heavy card. Be prepared to spend $3 or $4 to mail that, or better yet, give it to a friend in person. So I love the way this turned out. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's more elaborate than most of the cards we do in the videos, but I wanted to show it to you because I was pretty excited about how it turned out. Next up, we have two more cards from this set. Even having made that ginormous one, we still have two more cards. This one I cut using the little Find It Trading shaped card die that I told you about. Doesn't that give a nice pattern? Now in this case, this is that musical note that I didn't like next to the long Cathedral piece, but I really like the little topper on there. It just was too much contrast for me when it was the huge topper on one side and this white on the other. And I didn't do much to this. I used my D's Distinctively Merry Christmas, cut that out of silver mirror board. I mounted my topper. I did glitter it because I glittered almost all these because I love using glitter in snow scenes. Here's another one of those silver jewel dazzles in the middle of one of those snowflakes from the Moonstone snowflake frame set. And then I have to give a call out to Brittany on this one. Brittany suggested using the die that I used to cut out the card to cut my insert, so it's exactly the same size and shape. I did have to trim it just a little bit shy of the fold line, but I trimmed it there, glued it right down, perfect fit. Way to go, Brittany. That was a big time savings, and it was so easy. So there's an idea for you. Quick and easy way to match an insert to a shaped card. Finally, here's one more that's also done on a piece of adorable scoreable. In this case, I had this one topper left, and as you might imagine, I had used almost all of my supplies for this set, making that huge card. So what I did here was I took a piece of that musical notes paper and I tore it. Remember, if you tear towards yourself, you get this nice white line that you let the core of the paper show. And I like that look. So I tore towards me, and I got this nice tear pattern, slightly larger than my topper. I used, once again, one of those shaped card sets here to cut this blue adorable scoreable. And we also learned that you can cut your acetate using the shaped card die also. We couldn't cut through the acetate until we put a piece of adorable scoreable behind it. When we put the adorable scoreable behind the acetate, it cut the acetate and the card frame both. So we have another card frame ready to go. But that's all I've done, is layer up those pieces. And In this case, I used the insert that came with the set. I matched it up where I wanted it to cut, and I cut it out of my insert using the card die. Once again, quick, easy, everything matches. We cut the insert, we cut the card base, and we cut the acetate, all using that card die. Quick and easy, and look at that effect. Isn't that pretty? Here's the final snowman set from, the snowman topper set from this kit. We got this charming snowman outside of a planting shed. Rubber boots out there, a picket fence. For friends like no other, Merry Christmas. Hope your Christmas is as wonderful as you. Sending a little Christmas magic your way with love. And then that's just a bench with all of the assorted potting material sitting around on the bench. Got two nice little scenes here. Snowman and the picket fence. And then we've got this interesting and wonderful background. See what we did with them. I used that background first. I liked it better turned on the edge this way. So I covered my US A6 card. That's 5.5 by 6. No, let's try that again. It's 5 by 6.5 inches. I just covered my card. I glued my topper set down directly to my card. I used my technique to put the best glue ever on the back of my acetate, just dotting it around under the snowflakes, and while that was drying I glittered up my topper, so I've got some nice glitter effects underneath there that have another layer of dimension. Added my acetate, put this little cute button on there, matching insert with an extra little piece on the inside. Cute. That's one of my favorite cards from this set, and it's so simple. Here's another one. Now this one I did using this little piece, but it was a perfect match with that Friend Like No Other topper off of her topper sheet. And I put acetate over the top. I added some snowflakes, that little button with love. I used an extra piece of border material here. It was blue, this was purple. I didn't mind it. I thought it was still pretty, and I stuck it in there because I didn't want to waste it. Next up, here's that wonderful little Christmas tree making another appearance because I truly love that tree. And he was perfect to fill in this little space next to the corner for that snowman. Here's another card that's been cut out of that shaped card die. And in this case, I cut my cardstock out of the corner slightly smaller. I covered it with acetate. I added my little sparkly tree, cut it out, glittered it. I did add some glitter accents to the background here. Added my 3 snowflake dies, put a little topper on there, done. It's not a fancy card, but it looks like a fancy card. Inside my little matching topper. Absolutely adorable. Okay, finally, from this set, we have an easel card. And the easel card, as you know, is easy to make using a 6x6 card or even a 5x5 card. Score it in the middle. And in this case, I used the easel card frame from that ornate easel die set that many of you got from Tattered Lace. That's why I have the little ruffles around the edges, which are an extra little enhancement that's created by that easel frame. But that's what I used for mine. You know that you can make your own. Use your insert paper on the inside. Take your sentiment, put it up on some foam tape so it acts like a stopper. When you attach your topper, attach only the lower half, so this can still bend up. There's my little Christmas tree again, and lots of glitter accents on there. That was a very snowy scene, so it was perfect for lots of glitter accents. And I used my little snowflakes to fill it out around so that when the card is flat, it's still pretty. You are not going to believe this set. I think we set a new record. With this last set from the White Christmas winter set, we created 7 cards from one set, from one topper set. We have these beautiful 3, 4, 5 toppers here with some nice little sentiments on these. I didn't want to waste these because they have these wonderful little sentiments. May the festive splendor bring with it joy and cheer for Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. For a very special friend this Christmas, we have a very Merry Christmas, warmest winter wishes. This gorgeous, wonderful robin in a couple of these scenes, the nice little squirrel. Here's another squirrel. And look at him. We couldn't waste him. We had to use him. And look at this wonderful robin on this cardstock. 7 cards. Here they come. Let's start with this wonderful robin topper. This is my daughter's favorite. She insists that this is her Christmas card. She just hasn't received it yet. I just used a piece off of here for my background. Then I used that topper set with the robin. I split the frame. The center and outside frames are glued down. The top frame's up on some foam tape. I glittered it to really accentuate the snowiness. I added foam tape here, and I stuck some little cedar sprigs into and coming out from under that little sentiment. I added some more cedar sprigs over here and one coming out from this corner. And isn't that beautiful and natural looking? I love the way that turned out. It's so pretty and it's so simple. On the inside, a matching insert. Brought one of my little sprigs in just to bring the outside of the card in. Isn't that lovely? I love that. I'll show you that one next. Okay, here's that squirrel that we saw on the side. All I did was add him to a 4x8 card. The only things I added to this were I added glitter accents. I hope you can see those, but I have nice glitter outlines along the snow lines. I added a little sprig coming out from his stump here. I added some sprigs coming down from Merry Christmas and up from Merry Christmas. That's all I did to it because it didn't want any more. That nice Merry Christmas from Dee's Distinctively again. Beautiful. And that's all I had to do to it. Added a matching insert. So cute. So easy. Here's the other side of our robin cardstock right here. I covered a USA 6 card, 5 by 6.5. I glittered it. I put a piece of acetate over it. I used a matching piece of the cardstock that I had left over, and I covered up my acetate line. I put the little topper, or the little greeting topper off of my topper sheet. I brought sprigs out and put a little bit of glitter on the sprigs. That's all I did to it. Beautiful and so colorful and so seasonal and so pretty. Matching topper or matching insert. Done. Here's our squirrel. And I showed you on one of the other cards that I had taken the little white pieces and filled into my silver card, leaving me with this white frame left. Well, I couldn't waste that, so here we go. I used this to cover a 7x7 card. I put my white frame down. I put my topper set on top. Now you'll note, this time I'm using a square on top of that frame set that has the circle in the center. But here we go. I've got the 2 outside pieces glued down, the center piece on some foam tape. I've put some glitter accents here, and then just for fun, just for kicks, I outlined all of these little openings with glue, and I sprinkled glitter in there. So I have very glittery white background. I'll tell you the truth, I messed up here in this corner and got my glue a little too heavy. Therefore, this becomes the location for my sprigs coming out and my little sentiment. You'd never guess I did it because I messed up there, but some of my most creative work over time is a result of hiding accidents, and this is no exception. I love this card. I love the way it worked out, and I didn't have to tell you I messed up there, but I felt like it might make you feel better about the fact that you guys will occasionally do that too. It's okay. We make mistakes, and that ends up being some of our most creative work. Inside, matching sentiment. I had this little border piece left over. Thought it was too pretty to waste. Just trimmed it on the inside. I'm excited about these. I'm going to show you these at one time because I did them using the same techniques. Now you will recall that I talked about using my ink pad to just change the color. Guess what I did here? I used a piece of that. I used one of my card blanks actually, and I changed the color of the outside frame using this one that's called, it's from the same set, it's called Forest Moss. I changed the inside color using this dried marigold. Then I had a piece of white cardstock here. Now, I told you, I use these little sprigs, you've seen it. I used them all over the place. Here's the piece I cut all those sprigs out of. I got done with those cutting those sprigs out, and I thought, that's awfully pretty. So I put this down. I actually changed the color of my background using one here that I think is called distressed. Yeah, it's called frayed burlap. So I took a white piece of cardstock and I rubbed it around with this frayed burlap. I didn't rub it everywhere. You can see I left some little lighter areas on purpose. I liked the way that looked. And then I laid my frame over that white piece of cardstock. I took this forest green ink pad, and I used this as a stencil over that frayed burlap, over that white cardstock that had been colored, and I just turned my little ink pad. These are great because they're tiny and you have lots of edges. I turned the adorable squirrel was kind of thick, so you had to kind of turn the ink pad this way and that to get a nice coating, and you end up having this kind of shabby chic sort of look to the little cedar sprigs here. And then I used that and I put my topper on it, and I created this wonderful card using that background I created out of waste material. And then I made 7 cards. There were no insert pieces at all left. So I took a piece of paper, I colored it again using that dried marigold. Look how even that coloring is. Isn't that beautiful? I tore it around the edges and I inserted it into my card to match the outside. Gorgeous, easy, fun, very inexpensive. I did the same thing here. This time I used that piece, that recovered piece. Here's my white cardstock, the frayed burlap, that little cedar sprig stencil we created. In this case, I didn't even cover my card. This is kind of an ivory or ecru colored card. I thought it looked really pretty with the colors in this torn topper back here. So I just covered it in a piece of snowfall acetate. I used a border piece to tack it down. I used some more borders on the inside just because I had them available. I did not line this, but the 2 borders make it look like it's finished on the inside. One more. I still had a topper left. I only had scraps of paper left, but I was determined to use that topper because he's cute. He's a squirrel and I loved him. I had this cardstock, and I had a tiny bit of this cardstock left. I cut 1-inch pieces. I cut 1/2-inch pieces. I pieced them together. And you can't even tell. And then, just to bring some silver into it, I used some silver thin line dazzles. I put one strip here, one strip here. I put my sentiment up on some foam tape. Between the two lines there, I stuck some sprigs in there, going this way and that. I had a tiny piece of insert paper left. I added one of my border strips. You'll see it doesn't even come all the way up to the top, but because I put that border strip there, it looks finished. This is a card made with a topper, and other than that, it's completely from scrap material. Isn't that fun? 7 cards from this set. That's it. This is the conclusion. This has been the White Christmas Kit from Hunkydory. We got 25 cards from this half, 21 from the first half, so we got 46 cards in total from this set. It's lovely, wonderful, lots of fun. I hope you enjoyed the video and you find some useful techniques. You can find this and all of the supplies we talked about on our website at www.simplyspecialcrafts.com. If you haven't done so, be sure and sign up for our newsletter. If you sign up for our newsletter, I'll send you a notice of new videos posted and a supplies list with links to the items in our store. I hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you next time.